dinner and they say that we had sex together, Mummy. What do I do?
Okay, sweetheart. Repeat after Mummy. I don't remember.
Okay.
Alright. Geoffrey came in and he stabbed you red-handed, groping with a young minor. Then she says that you took advantage, went upstairs for sex with her. How can you forget that you are part of the monarchy and this kind of behavior?
I'm Roberta Glass, and you're listening to my True Crime Report. Today, I have a very special guest, so special that so close to me that she feels like family. It's my mother. Welcome, Mom.
Hi, Roberta. So happy to be here.
So glad that you came on to talk once again, about Prince Andrew, the most honorable man who ever lived.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I like to I like to call him that because he says that that interview is just amazing still, right? I mean, we're talking about it, what is it, 4 months later?
Well, it was in November 27th, I believe, and I watched it last night just to review my mind, and it's ghastly. He is just the most arrogant, boorish man, crude, awful, horrible man.
You know what's so amazing is that he said he nailed it after that. He told the Queen, I think, that he nailed it, that he thought he did great. I mean, it just blows me away. So as a royal watcher, has Prince Andrew and this Epstein scandal changed the way you view the royal family?
Well, the theory was about the monarchy was not to let too much daylight in, that you saw the Queen going to a premiere with her diamonds or opening Parliament and with the carriages and the Rolls Royce, the lovely eggplant Rolls Royce, and everything was just you just didn't see them too much and too close. And all that has been blown away. The Queen, Meghan, and Harry have gone off to Canada and left being senior royals. Prince Andrew is disgraced and can't be really seen in public too much. Lord Linley, Princess Margaret's son, is divorcing as the grandson, the son of her oldest grandson, the son of Princess Anne, is divorcing. So now all these things are kind of, the monarchy, instead of being a glitter, is sort of in tatters right now.
Yeah.
It's quite fascinating to see the demise of the monarchy, and I feel sorry for the Queen, who's devoted her whole life to upholding the monarchy. I mean, she believes in it and the Commonwealth and holding the country together through the monarchy, and it's really a mess. So,
yeah, I agree. But there's been quite a few relationships from Jimmy Savile. Prince Andrew was also just recently attached to Peter Nygaard, the Canadian clothes mogul, as well as Epstein. Is there something about the royal family that, I guess, attracts pedophiles? Or I don't know. I don't know how to ask a question. I mean, why so many pedophiles?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know much about pedophiles, but I think a lot of, I think Prince Andrew is attracted to great wealth and power, and these folks seem to indulge in that proclivity, or have a proclivity for pedophilia, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah,
and
that's what I was trying to ask. Is there something about royal life? Did you just get so bored?
Bored? I don't think so. You want a little juice. I don't know. It's just really, it's nothing that attracts me to them. I will certainly say that.
Right. And Geoffrey Berman, attorney for the Southern District of New York, says, contrary to Prince Andrew's very public offer to cooperate, I'm quoting now, with our investigation into Epstein's co-conspirators, an offer that was conveyed through a press release, Prince Andrew has now completely closed the door on voluntary cooperation. Does that surprise you?
No. If he's so guilty, I believe he's so guilty that if he cooperates, it will certainly look bad, to say the least. So he's just going to have to, they're not, he could, if he were a different sort of person, he could cooperate, but he's not. He's very arrogant, and he will be protected. And I guess they can't get to him. I don't think he can ever come to America again with this case pending.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But, there were news reports that Maxwell and her lawyer put pressure on Prince Andrew to not cooperate, and that's when he closed the final door. Do you believe that?
Well, he's very close to Ghislaine Maxwell, he said. That's his great old friend. And I would probably believe that, yeah.
What baffles me is that it seems obvious to me that they're not going to charge Prince Andrew. I mean, he seems above the law. As much as, they like to say no one's above the law, he does seem above the law. And that what would cooperating do to him personally? And by not cooperating, it seems that he can never come into the United States again. And he hired 2 attorneys, one Clare Montgomery, one Gary Bloysome. I hope that I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And I know Montgomery defended Chilean dictator Pinochet against extradition. That seems to indicate that he fears extradition.
I don't think they could. I mean, that would be unprecedented to extradite Prince Andrew to America. Well, I don't know about that. That's way, wow. Well, they did. Prince Pinochet was never extradited. I believe he died eventually. A dreadful man.
I didn't get to go down that rabbit hole. But
no, but Margaret Thatcher seemed to like to have tea with him.
Yeah. It just baffled me because I thought, well, I mean, it would be a real win for the Southern District of New York to extradite him and to look like they were tough on Epstein and his co-conspirators. But that was very interesting to me. Also, Prince Andrew also hired Mark Gallagher. He's a public relations specialist. What can Gallagher do for Prince Andrew?
Well, they seem on Instagram to be promoting Princess Beatrice's wedding, his oldest daughter. They keep talking about that, but poor girl is now in the middle of the virus epidemic, so whether her wedding will take place May 29th to this already divorced man with a child who was supposed to be part of the wedding party, I would imagine they're going to have to cancel. It was at St. James's Palace, and it's very much smaller than her sister's wedding, and they seem to show a lot of pictures on Instagram of the York family. Sunday was Mother's Day in England, and there were a lot of pictures of Fergie with her daughters too. I don't know how they can really rehabilitate him. He's been seen riding horseback with his brother Edward and with the Queen, but his 60th birthday bash was considerably smaller. None of his siblings or any member of the royal family attended. There were 50 people, and from what I read, that Fergie kept sending out invitations, so there would be some people there, and I guess a lot of people refused to be around him.
Yeah, so, what did you think of Fergie's reaction? Bridget is saying in the chat, even Fergie got some cash out of Epstein to pay her bills. Then she turned around and was busted on closed-circuit surveillance trying to sell influence with Andrew for cold cash. Outrageous.
Well, she's very local. She's a very tacky woman. She's not my favorite. I don't know why she's always in debt with Andrew's fortune behind her.
Isn't that weird? What is she doing?
I don't know. She was a spokesperson for Jenny Craig for a while. She came to America after she was seen toe sucking, having her toes sucked by one of her lovers, Byram, I think. And she came to America to sort of rehabilitate herself. And I think she's written or had a ghost written book about herself. I don't know. She's not my very favorite royal at all.
Yeah, it's very odd. And once again, Bridget in the chat brings up, imagine the people who have to pay off to keep their secrets. Quite a debt. So she's saying, can't imagine Ghislaine isn't receiving a little something from Andrew to remain quiet about him. Do you think that's true?
They have a very unusual relationship, Fergie and Andrew. I mean, they live together.
No, Ghislaine and Andrew.
Ghislaine.
Ghislaine, yeah.
Ghislaine.
Is really receiving something from Andrew to remain quiet about him.
Well, that could be possibly. Well, where is Ghislaine Maxwell, and why isn't she being questioned about Epstein?
Right. 6 days ago, Maxwell out a civil claim to the Epstein estate, civil complaint claiming that she's received death threats and she's looking to get legal fees and personal security costs reimbursement from Epstein's estate. And in that, she says that Epstein made clear and unambiguous promises, quote unquote, to support her financially for life. What do you make of that?
Well, it's very bold, seeing she's in hiding somewhere. Nobody seems to know where she is. I imagine, they were called Bonnie and Clyde by the women they abused, or he abused, and she was a co-conspirator, and yet nobody seems to know where she is, and seems very, very bold to make that claim. I'm sure he did say that, I don't, but why didn't she inherit quite a bit of money from her father? He was very, very wealthy. I don't know, but he did end in disgrace in the Canary Islands, somehow floating above his yacht.
Yeah, a lot of people think he was pushed off of that yacht. And he was also said to be Mossad. And in a minute, I'm going to get into that. But before I do, what that really says about Maxwell is that she's not afraid. And that law, what that civil suit does is really back up what Virginia Roberts Giuffre and all the victims have been saying, which is that she was an integral part of the Epstein pedophile, I don't know what you would call it, ring? Business, blackmail business. I don't know. There's another aspect to this. Florida lawyer Bradley Edwards, who represents over 20 victims, is coming out with a book called Relentless Pursuit. And in that, he claims from a former bodyguard of Epstein that Epstein was CIA, possibly Mossad, or some other kind of intelligence. And this is where it gets murky for me. He was sent to CIA training classes in Virginia, where Epstein was introduced as a special operative. Wow. Do you believe those claims?
Well, didn't the Southern District of Florida say that he got such a lenient plea deal because it was way above his pay grade?
Yeah, that's what Acosta was told, that it was way above his pay grade, and that Epstein was intelligence, know, and that so he, Acosta got a lot of flack for giving him that deal, but it seemed like there was pressure from people up even higher. That's what he's saying. Now, whether he's trying to pass the buck, we'll never know. But it seems to sort of to me, it always made sense that Epstein was Mossad or CIA, and this was the other aspect of why this went on for so long. You know, when in Florida, when these charges in 2000, and when he finally pled guilty to them in
Hmm.
2008, um, you know, one very small charge. They apparently the FBI had a huge dossier of information about Epstein, you know, and they
Yeah.
only presented to a secret grand jury 2 victims. So who's doing that?
Well, there's also the part that Epstein had cameras everywhere in his homes, cameras photographing all the people that were participating in this ring. So he would have blackmail on a lot of these people as well. I think that there's two tracks here,
Hmm.
and very, oh my goodness, very dark and sordid. That's my thinking on it.
Right. It really makes you think about. It's very frustrating to me because I hate digging into things where I can never get an answer. Like I'll
Mm.
never understand if there's some kind of dark element of the CIA that's into blackmailing people with using children. I don't think we're ever going to hear about it. Do you?
No, no. Well, I'm not, certainly Epstein's death is so peculiar that he had tried to commit suicide a week or two earlier. They would have had in any jail in the whole
Hmm.
country a suicide watch on that man, not just two people. You know, that whole thing, somebody wanted him dead, somebody very high up.
Hmm.
And they probably thought it would go away, but it hasn't gone away. There's the Me Too movement, and Virginia Giuffre is pursuing this, as are many of the other victims of Jeffrey Epstein.
And there was also another interesting admission in his book that Weinstein and Epstein were friends, and that the friendship only ended when Weinstein berated one of Epstein's victims um, that, you know, rebuffed his advances. I
Hmm.
mean, were you surprised by that?
No.
I'm only
I'm nothing.
surprised
Nothing
that
in
their
this
friendship
case
ended.
surprises me. It's so awful. It's just so awful. Oh, nothing can surprise you. I mean, from these people. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
You know.
it's very interesting. And do you think that Weinstein's conviction has will propel this story forward at all?
Perhaps. I don't know. It seems like it starts and then it stops. And, they hope it will go away. And then it starts again. Somebody else has a different aspect on it.
Hmm.
And it's hard to get it going. As Virginia Giuffre said, that she looks for justice every day. And it doesn't happen. She looks for the truth.
Right.
Hopes it will be revealed. But there are a lot of dark people involved in this.
What do you think of the fact that Ken Starr was a lawyer for Epstein in making this deal in 2008 in Florida for him?
Mm. He was always a very repulsive character. He went into Bill Clinton's sex life in such detail. It was all published in the New York Times in his dossier and it was very prurient and really just not. We just shouldn't have known about Bill Clinton's sex life in that detail. I mean, it just was so prurient.
Unnecessary. I read the Starr report. It was unnecessary detail,
Yes.
you know?
So he must be interested in that.
Hmm.
Oh,
And
dreadful.
and your favorite, Alan Dershowitz, who you've hated for decades, Mom,
Yes, I never
and I
liked
think
him.
this is your ultimate vindication. He settled uh, with Edwards and Cassell for they sued him for defamation. He said that
Hmm.
these lawyers knowingly filed false legal papers, knowing that Virginia Roberts Giuffre's story was, completely untrue, and they filed the papers anyway. And he settled out of court, which means he paid them.
Hmm.
So, what
That's
does that
surprising
say?
because he's a very crafty character. He usually is very smart and can mold the law to his favor. Very unusual for him to settle with anybody or pay out any cash.
Right.
He's a very unsavory character.
And he says that I was very interested when he said, "Oh, the flight logs will, um, vindicate
Vindicate.
me
Mm-hmm.
and exonerate me." And when they do anything but, they show him exactly in New York during the time, exactly scheduled for a massage. Virginia's on
Mm-hmm.
the flight, to New York from Florida. So it's very interesting. Did are you going to read Dershowitz's book?
No.
Guilt by Association, that's the title.
I don't think that. I don't know whether. No, I'm not reading Dershowitz's book. Oh,
It's
no.
published by Hot Books.
Really? That's a
Yes,
distinguished
the
publisher.
distinguished publisher. Been publishing books in 1709.
Oh my goodness.
I just love the title. Apparently, I really should, be one of the few people that pay for that book and read it just to find out what nonsense is in it. There also Edwards, the lawyer for the victims in
Mhm.
Florida, also in his book, he talks about a meeting with Epstein at a Starbucks. Can you talk about that a little bit?
He goes to Starbucks. Epstein goes to Starbucks to try and settle with Edwards, and he claims he that he has this interest in science, and when a woman is able to menstruate and is fully capable of these things, then they're adults, and he can do what he wants with them. And that's, I believe, what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very strange. These 12, 13, 14-year-old girls are hardly women. They're children, and not adults, and not in that he can do anything he wants with them, and he wants to settle. He kind of, winks and nods at him, and it's a very odd
He makes
part of
jokes
that.
about let's massage this thing, my kind of massage, and
Yeah,
I mean,
winking at that, and
yeah, seemed proud of his disgusting perversion.
Well, he said that the women said that he would get shake almost before he had sex with them. He was so excited by it. Oh my goodness.
And I don't believe that he's checking to see if these 13, 14-year-old girls are menstruating. I'm sure he slept with younger, children than 13 and 14. They always try to do these things to make it seem these pedophiles, to make it seem socially acceptable and throw out these arguments like they have any kind of moral code at all.
Well, I guess he was afraid also that some father would get angry with him, not that the women would get angry because they were so intimidated by Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein, so that they wouldn't come after him, but maybe some father would come after him. So he wanted to settle all his court cases that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he had a bodyguard too, because he
thought
felt
a
that
father would come after him, and we saw that in the
Mm-hmm.
Nassar trial. One father came after Nassar and tried to punch him in court. I just thought it was interesting that he didn't think a boyfriend of one of his victims would come after him. That would be probably my first thought. And want to hurt, it's the fatherly instinct. It's very interesting that he felt that he was confident enough that he scared these children.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Roberts Giuffre is doing a Netflix special. Do you think that will help or hurt?
I don't know. Well, it will draw attention to the cases. I don't know what you watch probably more Netflix than I do.
Mm-hmm.
How it will work. She's very full of praise for Netflix, and is pleased. I'm sure they're paying her quite a bit of money for this.
Mm-hmm.
May keeps the public interested in these cases.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully there will be some justice in the world, but it's not always the case.
Yeah, it's just you wonder what's going to be revealed and how. I I know that the Cosby victims were very, I just did an interview about the Cosby case, and they were very disappointed with ABC when they started bringing sort of victim blaming and bringing up some issues from the Cosby victims past. So, you don't really have control. And,
That's true.
you were married, you kind of, you spent decades married to a screenwriter. You're very familiar with the Hollywood schmooziness. They do, they do make you feel like the most important, best person in the world. And by the time you're betrayed, they're far, far away, and the thing is already out there.
That's right. You lose control of the narrative. And well, Virginia's been around a while. She's certainly maybe she has control over the narrative. I doubt it, but you never know.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if we have any comments or questions from the chat here. Epstein was definitely blackmailing the participants. Clinton should be worried. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, Ghislaine Maxwell was there's a picture of her at Chelsea Clinton's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bill Clinton seems to have had quite a few dark spots in his past. I would imagine a lot of powerful people should be worried. Maybe even Mr. Trump. I don't know.
Yeah, I was surprised how quickly that video of the two of them laughing and getting along and evaluating women together, how quickly that disappeared.
And judging women was very unpleasant.
It really was.
There they are.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Like pieces of meat, they were looking at women.
Yeah, there's another issue Epstein brought up with Edwards. He said that there was something wrong with Virginia's story because of the bathtub. Can you talk about that?
Well, apparently Ghislaine Maxwell had a very small bathtub, but we have to remember that Prince Andrew was quite a bit slimmer in those days, and she is a tiny little thing. I've never noticed that English bathtubs were particularly small. Seems a rather strange comment.
Right. It just seems like, it's not because Prince Andrew had nothing to do with any of these women. It's because the bathtub was too small. He just couldn't fit. He would have if he could just fit in that tub with her. He would have got it, but it was just too small. And it makes sense with her story that he smelled. Because if you're having sex with someone who smells, like, what do you suggest? Oh, let's take a bath, Get that smelly, sweaty guy in the bathtub before you can, just close your eyes and grit your teeth and hope it's over. Any other comments? I know we're almost done. I know you said, it's not going to be longer than a half an hour, so I'll try not to hold you, Bob, too long.
Okay.
You're really nice to do this. I still say his best option is to get a dog and just fill the Instagram with dog pictures.
They don't seem to be doing that. They've got him on a horse.
A puppy.
A few times.
A puppy. Or a couple puppies in this case. Just fill it with puppy pictures. That would be my PR advice. Sending my bill to Prince Andrew.
Yeah. Well, they're trying with the daughters, to make him look like a regal person. But, oh, my goodness. No. I think a dog is good. The horses don't seem to be doing much, so maybe a dog, not a cat.
And you like to comment on Instagram when Prince Andrew's picture comes up?
I know, and people say, oh, that was horrible. I say, please don't post pictures of these awful people. And
people admonish you for criticizing them on Instagram?
Yes, it's quite mild, but they don't seem to like it. Maybe they're trolls or something.
You think they're royal trolls? Who would support Prince Andrew after all this? I mean, really?
I know the people say, oh, they're so beautiful, the daughters, and this and that, and so charming. I don't know. They look completely blank to me. And rather tacky with their dreadful hats. Anyway, my darling, Roberta.
All right, Mom. I won't hold you. You're really getting out. 29 minutes, 38 seconds.
Oh.
But I love you very much, and thank you for doing this.
Oh, my pleasure, Roberta.
Thank
Lots
you.
of love.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Mom. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Hope you're all staying safe.
Did you have sex? Perhaps your party days have messed up with your head. But seeing is believing, so you best put on your specs. There are many witnesses to say that you were with her. Many people saw you come and go from Maxwell Villa. The flavor that you like is immaturely dressed and isn't on the menu at any Pizza Express. Oh! And she caught you on a camera.
I don't remember.
People say that you were with her.
I don't remember.
Down the club where you groped her.
I don't remember.
You had sex thrice over.
Didn't happen.
She said you sweated profusely.
I don't sweat.
That you knew Geoffrey was Nancy.
Didn't happen.
You even stayed at his property. Should have gone Airbnb. Oh, Geoffrey came in and he caught you red-handed, creeping with a young minor. Picture this, you took such advantage and now you say she's a liar. You had tried to keep her from the press in case she was believed. And the only key witness killed himself in front of the police. It's pretty understandable that this girl feels so vexed, right? She's being called a liar after being used for sex. Her picture tells the story you were with her and Epstein. A child-abusing monster would not be a friend of mine. You know that even mama cannot take this shit away. When you mess with minors, it's only right that you pay. There is nothing here that you can explain away. So why not try the truth so your family doesn't pay? Oh! Plus they caught you on the camera.
I don't remember.
Hanging out with a monster.
I don't remember.
Used his place in his absence. Invited him to the palace.
I don't remember.
You were his friend post-prosecution.
Didn't happen.
So you knew that he was guilty.
I don't remember.
You've been caught out and the truth is you better pay in prostitutes, Prince. Geoffrey came in and he snapped you red-handed, groping with a young minor. Picture this, you were both butt naked, at it on a toilet floor. How could you forget that you were part of the monarchy?